This is a brief presentation addressing ethical and legal issues in early childhood programs. I will address the ECE Code of Ethical Conduct and Statement of Commitment, licensing regulations for preschool programs and quality improvement systems, including Step Up to Quality, and the ECE Early Learning Accreditation Program. Early childhood educators face many challenges as they teach and lead programs. Think about the scenarios presented here. When faced with an angry parent who does not want to pay when her child was absent for illness, yet needing to enforce a policy that requires a financial hold for a spot, with exception of planned vacations, what is the right thing to do? When two staff members are in conflict and accusing each other of inappropriate interactions with children, who is speaking the truth? What will you do? What about leading the staff member who's not carrying out all of their responsibilities? Information about the child's progress and adjustment to the program has not been shared. What is the responsibility to the family, and how will you address the concerns with the teacher? Finally, what if you informally know about a child's serious behavioral issues, but the parents attempt to enroll the child in your program? How will you deal with the information you received where colleagues shared confidential information about the child and family? Yet, you need to protect your staff and children in your program. Bolton points out several key areas of roles and responsibilities that early childhood leaders must understand and be accountable for. First and foremost, the children need to have a supportive environment where they are cared for, loved, nurtured, and have positive and engaging educational experiences. Those experiences must meet the needs of all children. Leaders must ensure that the teachers are qualified, supervised, and supported to grow professionally and personally. Partnerships with families must be developed in order to share and meet goals for their children. Early childhood leaders must know standards outlined in licensing regulations to ensure that children's health, safety, and well-being are adequately addressed. Finally, leaders must run the business for owners and agencies with integrity and attention to financial management. All early childhood educators and leaders must be well versed in three areas of professional responsibility. First, leaders must know the professional code of conduct and understand all of its components, and most importantly use it to guide deliberation about daily ethical dilemmas and guide ethical decision-making about programmatic decisions such as policies, procedures, curriculum, and child outcomes. Leaders must understand the rules and regulations such as Nebraska Title 391, Children's Services of Licensing, Chapter 5 for preschool programs. These minimal standards are the foundation needed to begin a path toward providing high-quality programs. Lastly, leaders must hold themselves and their colleagues and staff accountable for carrying out developmentally appropriate practices with children in their programs. This gold standard accepted by the early childhood profession guides appropriate experiences that are age and individually appropriate with respect for the cultural context of children's lives. Now, looking more closely at the Code of Ethical Conduct, the most important principle is Principle 1.1. Above all, we shall not harm children. We shall not participate in practices that are emotionally damaging, physically harmful, disrespectful, degrading, dangerous, exploitative, or intimidating to children. This principle has precedence over all others in the Code. Clearly, protecting the children is ultimately the most important and should be the focus of any decision-making. The second area is responsibility to families. The balance between families' values and desires for their children and the policies, procedures, philosophy, curriculum, and outcomes of the program must be weighed. The example linked is a regular column focused on ethics that appears in Young Children. Ethical dilemmas are described, and readers are encouraged to use the levels of deliberation to consider how to resolve the situation. In the case linked here, families do not want their child putting on girls' clothes in the dress-up corner. The next area of ethical responsibility is to colleagues, including co-workers and employers. What will you do if a colleague is teaching using what you feel are developmentally inappropriate practices? Is it a difference of philosophy, or a difference of opinion, or damaging in some way to children? What if an employer, supervisor, or principal demands that you follow curriculum and schedules that are not appropriate for the children you are teaching? How will you handle the situation? The last area addressed here is ethical responsibility to community and society, where the service of educating young children and supporting families has an impact on the whole functioning and relationships with community agencies and society as a whole. Now to take a shift into addressing legal issues. It is important to recognize that licensing regulations in the state of Nebraska are minimal standards. This is generally true of nearly all states' licensing regulations. While this leaves the door open for programs to adopt different philosophies and emphases, meeting minimal standards by no means ensures that a program can be described as high quality. This definition, as written in the legal dictionary, provides definitions that lay people can understand and points out key facts. Licensing regulations vary state to state, with some much more rigorous than others, focus mainly on health, safety, and well-being, and are minimum standards. The policies and procedures are also clearly delineated in the regulations. Looking quickly at some of the important aspects of Nebraska licensing for preschool programs indicates that qualifications are specified, though again fairly minimal for education and experience. Key areas related to health and safety must be part of training for all staff, and specific regulations about the capacity of children allowed, based mostly on available square footage, staffing requirements, and staff-child ratios are included. While licensing regulations are minimal standards, quality improvement systems or quality rating systems exist in most states, including Nebraska, and are designed to help move early childhood programs to higher levels of quality. The areas outlined in Step Up to Quality focus more on curriculum, learning environments, teacher-child interactions, not just ratios, specific desired child outcomes, and building relationships with families. The area of professional development requires higher levels of training beyond licensing regulations. Program administration must achieve high levels of skills in order to supervise and support the program's achievement of high-quality standards. Looking at the 10 NEC program standards shows some similarity to the focus of quality improvement systems like Step Up to Quality. There are common areas like curriculum and teaching, assessment of child progress, which relates to child outcomes, and areas focused on families and community relationships. There's a focus on staff competencies and the support needed to perform at their best, and connections to monitoring the physical environment. The criterion of leadership and management is what ties all the pieces together, as leaders must be proactive and interactive with all constituents to achieve the highest quality programs for young children. In conclusion, early childhood educators and leaders must be cognizant of three main themes. The NEC Code of Ethical Conduct and Statement of Commitment is a fundamental guide for helping individuals make critical decisions that take into account the needs of all parties and that ultimately focus on the responsibility to the children. Leaders must know the regulations that govern their programs. While many early childhood programs fall under the jurisdiction of school districts and agencies and may be exempt from formal licensing, the program leaders should still be knowledgeable and make certain that their programs are meeting these minimum standards. Finally, knowledge about the quality improvement and recognition systems, such as Nebraska's Step Up to Quality program and NEC's accreditation program, provide opportunities for programs to intentionally seek ways to meet higher standards and guaranteeing continual improvement toward providing high-quality programs for young children and their families.